So I was reading Steven Bartlett's book, Happy Sexy Millionaire, and there was a point in there towards the end of the book where it was talking about how much time you actually have to live and do things that you want to do in your life. And the number 500,000 hours came up. So if you live a life until you're 85 years old, you have about 500,000 hours of waking hours, presuming that you sleep for 8 hours a night. So the waking hours you have is 500,000. And it kind of puts it into perspective. 500,000 hours does not seem like a lot. But that's if you were, productive from an infant, right? Which is not the case. But if you're 20 years old and then you live to 85, you only have 379,000 hours left of potentially productive time. If you're 30, you have 321,000 hours left. If you're 40, you have 262 hours left, 262,000 hours left. If you're 50, you have 204,000 hours left. If you're 60, you have 146,000 hours left. If you're 70, you have 87,000 hours left. And if you're 80, if you've only got 5 years left of your life, you've got 29,000 left. And each year, you have 5,840 hours that you could apply to something. Now, half that, because you probably work somewhere for 8 hours most of your time. And when you start thinking about how much hours you have, depending on what age you are and stuff like that, you can very easily work out how many hours you have for the rest of your life, waking hours where you can actually get things done. And it puts it in perspective, because if you're spending your time doing frivolous things when your life is not how you want it to be, then you are doing something wrong. You could be doing something so much better with your waking hours to kind of give you the life that you want to live. But not being aware of how much time you have left makes us think that we are not ever going to die. We feel like invincible. Like, I definitely feel it. I don't feel like I'm going to die. Like, I feel like even if I do die, I feel like I'm going to live on in some means. But no one really knows that is to be true, right? No one can experience what it is after death, because no one has actually died and then come back to a real level. Like, no one's fully dead. They've had near-death experiences. They've had clinically dead, but they're not really dead because they're still here with us, right? So being that is said, let's just say we have 500,000 hours, or 250,000 hours. What are you going to do with that time to kind of excel in something or provide value to the world in something? It's just something I'm thinking about, because I thought when Steven Bartlett wrote about that, that was a really interesting point, because I've never kind of thought about it that way, having that amount of literal time just passing by and not doing anything productive from it. You can watch TV, you can do this, you can do that, but when you have that in mind, it kind of puts it in perspective, like, oh shit, it's actually running out. This whole time of this whole sand timer, this big sand timer is running out of life. So it kind of puts things into perspective. What do you really want to fill your sand timer with? Is it relationships? Is it with your family? Is it by adding to your gym that will maybe extend those hours slightly? Is it to building a business perhaps that allows you more freedom over the course of your life? Is it doing something that will impact other people, like building business or a non-profit or a charity that helps massive amounts of people? There's all these questions that you can start considering, right? But the main thing that I want to get across in this video is that your time is finite, that you will eventually die, and that sand timer has started ticking already. So it's the best idea that you kind of write down what your age is right now, and let's just say on average you would live till 85 if you're lucky. Subtract and do the maths. If you sleep for 8 hours a day, do 16 hours, times that by 365, times that by how many years you have left on this planet, and then it kind of puts it into perspective on how much time you have available. And for the time you do have available, you'll start to use it a bit more wisely, especially when you see it day in and day out. For example, each day you lose another 16 hours, so you can kind of check that off. There's an app that I use called Countdown on iPhone, probably the same on Android as well, and I added it to my widget. So when I scroll left on my page, on my home page, I see it there, and I just kind of put it as death with like 8 exclamation marks. And I think it works out to about, for me right now, I can't remember how old I like presumed I would die. I think probably like 100 or something like that, but it's like 22,000 days. I may need to change it to like 85 to be a bit more realistic, or maybe 90 because I'm optimistic. But if I've got 22,000 days left, if I see that every day, it makes me want to take more action every single day. If I don't see that, I can easily forget about it. So a little tip, maybe download that app for yourself, put in your date of potential death and use that. I know it's a bit weird, like talking about death. Not many people like to talk about death, but it's something that's massively motivating. And when you think about your kids, when you look at them, when you think of your grandkids, and then you look at that timer, you start to put more hustle in your step. You start to do things that you were putting off because now you realize you're not going to live forever. And this kind of motivation will help you to get your things done, whatever the things it is that you want to do to get them done. So anyway, I hope that helped. I hope you found some kind of like inspiration there, or just a practical piece of advice is to download that countdown app and then label it death with like a skull face or like some exclamation marks to really prove the point that, yeah, you are going to die. You have got a finite time here. So it's time to make the most of your time.